Trump's return and Ukrainians' fears. I'm very scared. Many Ukrainians are dreading Trump's return to the White House, fearing he will cut support and put pressure on NATO allies. Could a Trump presidency leave Eastern Europe vulnerable? Polls show that less than 5% of American voters consider foreign policy a top issue, suggesting that Russia's war in Ukraine is not central to Harris and Trump's campaigns. Nevertheless, Republican candidate Donald Trump has promised to end the war in 24 hours. Ahead of the U.S. presidential election results being tallied, Euronews spoke to several Ukrainians about what they think of the election results and their potential impact on their future. I'm very scared, Denis, a Ukrainian journalist, told Euronews. He is not alone. A Ukrainian woman living in Poland told Euronews that for her, a Trump victory would feel like the end of the world. Why are some Ukrainians afraid of Trump's victory? For many Ukrainians, the thought of a Trump victory is deeply unsettling. They fear that once in office, Trump could deny the Ukraine-U.S. military support and put pressure on NATO allies, thereby jeopardizing the security of Eastern Europe. Countries like Poland, Lithuania, Latvia, and Estonia, which border Russia, could be directly affected, Denis explains. His reasoning? Trump's unpredictable character and his populist rhetoric, including his claim to establish peace between Ukraine and Russia within 24 hours, appear dangerously simplistic and unrealistic. Trump's peace plan reportedly involves pressuring Ukraine to cede territory or give up its aspirations to join NATO. The idea echoes past proposals by his inner circle to create autonomous regions in a demilitarized zone and preclude Ukraine from joining NATO, as discussed by Republican vice presidential candidate J.D. Vance, according to the Financial Times. The longtime Trump advisor also hinted at a renegotiation of the failed Minsk agreements, with European troops monitoring the peace instead of NATO or UN peacekeepers. In addition, though controversial, Trump believes that economic pressure such as lower oil prices could force Russia to negotiate. While many Ukrainians express deep fear over Trump's victory, some, such as former Ukrainian economy minister and current director of the Kyiv School of Economics Timofey Milovanov, take a more balanced view. Milovanov told Euronews that he believes Trump will win and, while he thinks a Harris victory would be better for Ukraine, argues that Trump is not as bad for Ukraine as many people think. Milovanov explained that much depends much more on the real situation on the fronts and inside Ukraine, Russia and Europe than on the wishes of the U.S. president, although this influence is very large. Whoever wins, there will be an attempt to end the war. But it will fail because Putin will deceive everyone again. The new president will realize this, and then we will return to strong support for Ukraine, Milovanov concluded. Ukrainians were hoping for a Harris victory. At a recent campaign event in Michigan, Harris accused Trump of suggesting that if re-elected, he might allow Russian President Vladimir Putin to take over Kyiv and would pressure Ukraine to give up fighting Russia. For the Ukrainian woman living in Poland, a Harris victory would be a glimmer of hope, although she was not expecting miracles. Euronews also spoke to Vlad, who serves in the Ukrainian Air Defense Forces. An election in another country decides my fate and I don't have the right to vote, he said, adding that he hoped Harris would win but feared she would continue Biden's restrictive policies toward Ukraine. Joe Biden has been criticized for his cautious approach to Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine, especially regarding restrictions on the Ukrainian army's use of U.S.-supplied weapons to strike targets deep inside Russia. Ukrainian journalist Denis explains the expectations and concerns surrounding Harris this way. I think she was expected to continue Biden's policy. Her unwillingness to fully support the delivery of long-range weapons to Ukraine raises fears that critical aid will not be delivered on time or will face further delays, leaving Ukraine vulnerable. Tensions are high. Needless to say, tensions are high not only in the U.S., but also in Ukraine. Another Ukrainian, who preferred to remain anonymous, told Euronews. If they, American citizens, don't take responsibility for their actions, they risk causing a new wave of destruction and loss of life, perhaps even a third world war, which they have so far ignored. They have elected an incompetent leader who seems to be fascinated by figures like Hitler, only in a modern guise. The unease in Ukraine reflects broader concerns about Trump's potential influence, a view shared by some of his former top advisors. John Kelly, a retired Marine general and Trump's longest-serving chief of staff, warned that he meets the definition of a fascist, and recalled disturbing comments he made about Adolf Hitler. According to Kelly, Trump not only suggested that Hitler did some good things, but also expressed admiration for Hitler's generals. Despite Kelly's attempts to counter those views, the U.S. presidential race kept Ukrainians and the world in suspense. For Ukrainians, the stakes were higher than ever. Fearing waning support under a Trump presidency, they anxiously awaited the outcome, believing it could dramatically affect their fate and the broader geopolitical landscape.